How are we doing, guys? We're back with Monday Night Football, joined by two superb guests tonight, and we're just going to, go through Friday night's game. It's still a bit raw. Still feels very raw, to be fair. But we've got a game coming up again in a couple of days. But first of all, let's introduce our guest, Matt from Right in the Gary Kellys. How are you doing, my man?
Not too bad, Oscar. Not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Have you recovered from Friday yet? Are you looking ahead to Wednesday now? Or is it still winding you up a bit?
Nah, you've got to dust yourself off. We go again. You know, games are coming quick and fast now in December. So yeah, we've got a game 2 days' time. Let's focus on that.
And of course, the driver completes the hat trick of guests from All Stats, aren't we? How are you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I think I've pretty much recovered. I had a right good sulk on Saturday after the Friday night, and unfortunately I had to do an All Stats recording on Saturday morning, which may have been the most miserable listening experience that anyone's ever had. But I'm ready again. I'm ready to take on Steve Bruce's incredibly dull Newcastle on Wednesday and see what we can get out of them.
And Joe, how are you doing, my man?
All right, yeah, much like the other lads, mate. It's just I think the frustrating thing for me is, like, I accepted that we were dominated by Chelsea, you know, but this one, it's West Ham. I know they've had a great start to the season, but ultimately it was a little bit unforgiving for me. I was like, what, you know, just a bit meh. But yeah, hopefully we can right the wrongs, as it were, on Wednesday against Newcastle, mate.
Well, before we go into it, let's just remind ourselves of the superb sponsors on these videos, as always. Football prizes, 2 superb prizes available to you guys. So you may have already seen this one, but Rodrigo Moreno, Spanish number 9, our new record signing, Rodrigo Moreno, signed and framed boot of the Spanish number 9, $4.95 for a ticket, 99 tickets available at the time of speaking. It might be less than that. And it closes on Wednesday. Get on it, guys. Get on it. Spain's number 9, our new record signing. He's going to be in the goal soon, hopefully on Wednesday night. You might be ahead of the curve on this one, but he's going to get a hat-trick on Wednesday night, of course, against Steve Bruce's Newcastle. But let's move on to a different kind of piece, a really interesting piece, because this is my, personally, probably in the top 3 Leeds United shirts of all time, this one. The classic blue strong row. I mean, wow. I mean, signed and framed. Look at the names that have signed this shirt. Mark Viduka, Lee Bowyer, Don Matteo, Eric Backer, Paul Robinson. You know, look at the names. Ollie Decor, Johnny Woodgate, even, Rio Ferdinand. But still, you know, it's an absolutely immense piece, this, guys. Check it out. But don't check it out now, because you're watching this video. Check it out after this video. Football prizes, 99 tickets available. This one closes next week. This time next week on Monday, $4.99 for a ticket. So you've got a retro shirt there, a classic 2002, 2003 shirt there. And of course, the Rodrigo Moreno signed boots. Check it out, guys, after this video. Well, let's go on to West Ham anyway. I mean, the first thing, I guess, the West Ham game, there's so many different negatives we can bring from the game. But I think, fellas, the thing I looked at the most, and I think we just sort of said off there, probably the most annoying thing was the set pieces. Because we knew before going into the game that we were having a problem defending set pieces. We looked at the West Ham team, Haller, Balbuena, Ogbonna, just the land of the giants, basically, that West Ham team. Ridiculous height. Declan Rice, Souček, etc. Darren, how disappointing was it to... I thought we did okay against West Ham in open play. I thought we did okay. I've seen better teams than us struggle more against West Ham in open play. You know, Man United the week before, West Ham just cut through them time after time. I thought we did okay against that. But on the set pieces, how disappointing were the 2 goals for you, mate?
I think for me it wasn't so much that we were beating in the air in the box, because I expected that. As you just said, they've got a number of, you know, big lads, and the delivery that they got from set plays was pretty amazing. I think for me, what's more frustrating is the annoying way in which we gave up free kicks, is some of the stupidity in the way that we gave up corners. Because I think if you give a side like West Ham, and I think we're going to see a similar thing on Wednesday, if you give sides like this opportunities to put decent balls in the box, they're going to punish us time after time. And really, you know, it was only a matter of time, I felt, in the second half until they got the set piece that actually they punished us with. And in fact, I think I'd said that to somebody just before Marriot made that great save from the header. And it sort of became more and more inevitable that eventually they were going to get another free header and score. It really is frustrating, but it is part and parcel of the way that Bielsa sets his teams up to play.
I mean, Matt, obviously, you know, as Darren says, we gave up a lot of set pieces. You know, that was probably the main rule for us on the day. I know Ben Rama won a lot of free set pieces because the way he played, we thought was sublime on the day, to be honest. Probably one of the best individual performances I've seen at Ellen Road this season, to be honest. But that Costa one for the actual goal, it's unforgivable, isn't it, mate? That Costa foul. And as much as we don't want to hammer Costa, but there's not much defence.
Don't lie. Really. Yes, you do want to hammer him. You've got an agenda.
I've got a... Come on, I'm not Jed. But yeah, no, I mean, look, it's hard to defend Costa after doing that. As bad a game as it was, that is the one that really does it, isn't it?
I think with Costa, it has to probably be one of the lacklustre substitution appearances that I've seen in a Leeds shirt for a long time. He just won with it from the minute he came on the pitch. But I think, I agree with Darren as well, but I think you've got to go from the start. It was very positive for us, let's be honest. VAR is obviously our friend at the moment. We're all up for VAR, aren't we, at the moment? But as you said, Oscar, I think building up, it was all about set pieces, and West Ham are in the top 3 of the set pieces, how they converted this season. And we knew that, and we're the worst at defending, so it was obvious. I think the bookies weren't even taking bets on a West Ham set piece goal, and to lose by 2 goals as well, 2 set pieces, very disappointing. And Souček, you know, we all know he's 6'8", and obviously our tallest player is 6'1" in Liam Cooper, and yeah, it's worrying. We've been beaten on set pieces a lot this season.
Were you disappointed that just to go on to Souček? Yeah. Were you disappointed that Stuart Dallas was picking up Souček? Did you think that was a bit of a crazy mismatch?
Yeah, but it goes down to that kind of zonal marking as well. You know, I think it's difficult because that's what West Ham are all about this season. That's why they're up there. That's why they're in the top 5. And I just think the writing was on the wall pre-match, and we all saw it. And that's just a disappointing thing that we conceded 2 goals, both by set pieces.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, Stuart Dallas is 6 foot. He's not a short player. He's the same height as me. So I don't think you've got too many bigger players in our squad than Stuart Dallas, to be honest. And I don't think any one of them really would have been able to get to that header given the position the ball came to him and stuff. But yeah, it is incredibly disappointing. And you know, as well as the Costa one that at the end for the first goal, Harrison gives away a really silly corner. It's just kind of bad decision making that Costa's. I think sometimes the way that in Costa's defence, I think sometimes the way that we press which is with a lot of urgency, can lead to people kind of rushing in, tripping, and kind of, you know, making bad decisions and rushing in and creating fouls where there don't necessarily need to be one. I think he just needs to get goal side and make the player recycle the ball. And you know, if he takes a moment to think about it, that's what he does. But because we press with such urgency, it can lead to mistakes at times.
I mean, Joe, you look at the substitution of Costa. Basically in that second half, at half time, we totally changed our left hand side, completely changed everything we're doing on that left side. Obviously, I had Alioski, Harrison from the start. And when I looked at that left side that started the game, Alioski and Harrison, as much as I think both, especially Harrison's improvement has been really good. So I know he's had a bad couple of weeks, but over the last sort of 18 months, I think his improvement's been massive. Arguably the biggest in the team, but Alioski Harrison was the same left-hand side that famous day against Wigan, you know, in the first Bielsa season. It's the same left-hand side in the Premier League. It's making Alioski, especially. What really annoys me was that yellow card he picked up on Bowen in 20 minutes of the game. There was no need to go. I know he was just trying to leave one on him, but really, Bowen, you don't want to be on a card with him. Just poor decision making, isn't it? Do you think as well? I know obviously Bielsa's getting a bit of criticism, but surely the players are making poor decisions at the minute as well as that.
Yeah, I think just on Alioski, after his performance against Arsenal and Everton, he warranted his place in the side against Chelsea. I think, however, if we don't have injured centre-backs, Alioski doesn't play the game. I think if Koch is in, Dallas starts at left-back, Ayling's at right-back, Alioski probably doesn't play the game after Chelsea, to be fair. So it's more a case of a necessity that he played there as opposed to a choice, for me personally anyway. But, yeah, I mean, look, Harrison... If we're talking about that left-hand side, I think Harrison's been off for a couple of games. If I'm being honest, I thought that Acosta, prior to him getting changed and Rafinha coming in, and Rafinha's been bright. However, he keeps fading in games, especially in the second half. I'm still at a loss as to why we keep switching the wings. That's another frustrating thing for me. I said it last week. We lose something. I think it was John might have said he thinks maybe it's because he wants Harrison on the right from a defensive standpoint. Maybe that's one way to look at it. But it's really frustrating for me at the minute, that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, from a defensive point of view, I don't think there was any reason to move Harrison over to the right on Friday night. I don't think they weren't coming down that side. They were coming down the other side, if anything. And I thought defensively, although there were times we were a bit vulnerable in the first half, I thought Alioski and Harrison defensively managed that side quite well. I think when they got into a number of good positions in attack and failed to make anything of it, which is why Harrison was changed, I think. But I thought in the second half, actually, I thought West Ham looked a lot more dangerous down that their right-hand side, our left, than they had in the first half. So I don't think the substitution on that side solved either of the problems that we were having down that side in the first half.
Do you know, just on the substitutions as well, Oscar, before we go, I think there's been a lot of fans asking Bielsa to change it sooner than what he has. He's then changed it at half-time, which at the time, I think the majority of fans would have said, yeah, it's nice to see, we want to see that. So he's damned if he does, damned if he don't, because I don't think if he changes it and he keeps it for longer periods, we're probably bemoaning the fact that he hasn't changed it sooner. Do you know what I mean? It just didn't work out. I thought when Shackleton came on, he was bright for about 20 minutes. Because I remember doing our watch along saying this is a real opportunity for Shackleton to stake a claim to start at right back. He did okay. He faded. Maybe he'll start at right back. I'm not sure. And Dallas at left back. So I think maybe he wants to take Alioski out of the side for Wednesday's game. I'm not sure. But I thought Shackleton was bright. Did okay for an early spell. Whether or not it's enough to start him. And the one sub that got me was Roberts. I'm not his biggest fan. I think he could do with a loan personally. Get a run of games playing in that striker role, as it were, a lower league opposition, because he's not going to get the opportunity at Leeds often enough for him to stake a claim, for me personally. So I think that was the strange one, because I'd have liked to have seen Rodrigo move up top and Pablo come in, rather than Roberts straight swap with Bamford. That's what I'd have done. But I'm just some
I could understand. As I said to you at the time, I could understand why he's done that. Because Bamford at the time, look, all love Paddy Bamford. For me, I'd probably go as far now in terms of his recent drop in form. He's probably been our best player along with Marriot for me so far this season, and Click. But it just wasn't really happening for him. Balbuena, Bonner, every single cross in the box, they're getting the head on. I didn't think we had that pace. I think the only thing that was really going to hurt Balbuena and Bonner was pacing behind. And to be fair, I think he does have a little bit more zip than Bamford, but at the minute, that's probably his last opportunity for me. For me, going forward against Newcastle, when you're coming up against Kieran Clark, Lascelles, it's the same kind of thing. And I think it's really where Bielsa... I'd be surprised if Bielsa doesn't do that, Joe. If we're chasing that game on Wednesday night, 20 minutes to go, I'll be amazed if Bielsa opts for Roberts and Costa ahead of Pablo. If he does, I think there's definitely fair criticism to be had for that, because at the end of the day, the last couple of games, it's not just been a defensive problem for me. I think creatively, okay, Everton, to be fair, we probably created more chances than we have done in any game this season, bar Villa, but I just think creativity from the central area, it needs a Pablo in there with 20 minutes, not to start with, but with 20 minutes to go when you're chasing the game against a low block, which is what Newcastle is basically going to be a carbon copy of West Ham, but with lesser players. And it's just a great opportunity for Bielsa just to show, faith in Pablo now. The fact that, I don't know, it does worry me that does worry me a little bit, Pablo. Now, I don't. What do you guys think? I mean, Matt, do you agree? Does it worry you a little bit now that Pablo's not being as trusted at the minute, or do you think it is more down to the not off the field stuff, but the moment against Leicester from a couple of weeks back? Do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of ill discipline, isn't it? I think Bielsa's not really dealt with much of that since he's come in at the club. And you can see how he's handled him, and it has surprised a lot of us. But you've got to factor his age as well. You know, this is Premier League football we're talking about now, not Championship. Going on to your Tyler Roberts point, we talk about it on our podcast that we did last night. He definitely needs a loan period out of the club. He's obviously had quite a few severe injuries since he's come to Leeds. Done all right in the under-23s, but he needs a good run at a Championship club, full uninterrupted season. And, you know, I genuinely think he will just crack on and do really well and come back a better player. And I agree with Joe, you know, his substitution, scratching my head because he literally, similar to Costa, just offered absolutely nothing. And Rodrigo, you know, he's the leading number 9 for Spain. I think looking at him on Friday night, he just looked massively out of position for me. You know, at times I saw him playing defensive midfield and I just thought he looked frustrated. And yeah, I agree. You want to at least move him up top at least and you know, ahead of Roberts for sure. But Pablo, yeah, it's a funny one. I just hope he don't go out of town. That's all I'm praying. And he comes back and forgiven and the Messiah does what he does best for us, because that's what we're all hoping at the end of the day.
So it's funny you mentioned Roberts. Huddersfield. I mean, do you not think Roberts would be perfect just to go to Huddersfield in January? Do you not think that's a perfect to go play with Carlos for 6 months? I think me and Joe picked that out. It feels a perfect move.
I'm surprised not many Leeds players have actually gone to town with Carberan there. You probably will see it in January. You'd hope so as well, because we've got some good players knocking on the door. The under-23s win 3-2 yesterday against Villa. You know, Roberts and Hernandez featured in that game themselves. Poveda as well is another one. So, you've got Sam Greenwood, you've got Joe Gellart as well. They're knocking on the door. You know, we've got the FA Cup game at Crawley. You want to look at that as an option for them to come through and potentially get their first team debut, because I've got a feeling one of them two are probably going to play a big role for us in the second half of the season.
I just had a thought about Roberts, and I agree with you. I think he could benefit from a loan out, but I think the two things, one of which is that I think our fans' perception of him has been damaged by the times he's played as a second number 8, which I think he's very weak at. I think if Roberts is going to play anywhere near our first team, he's got to play as a striker. So I was pleased to see him come on in that position. I think the other thing, the reason he was brought on instead of pushing Rodrigo forward is because he's much more effective in the press than Rodrigo is, and I think we were really struggling to get hold of the ball and retain it during the game. So I think if you push Rodrigo up front and you bring Pablo on, which I agree from a creative point of view could have worked, I think we would have struggled even more to get the ball back high up the pitch than we did.
Can I just add, sorry, just quickly?
Yeah, of course.
If Rodrigo would have buried that 90th minute header, we wouldn't be talking about any of this. We'd be upbeat. We'd be looking at the Newcastle game thinking, what, 4 points out of 6? You'd take that. You'd massively take that. But that Rodrigo chance, massive. What, at 91st minute? Free header, straight at Fabianski. Either side of Fabianski, we're buzzing. You'd take that draw at West Ham. So yeah, it's some fine margins in the Premier League, and 6th defeat of the season. I think we might look back at the end of the season. You'll look at that game as being 2 points dropped massively. Oh, sorry, 3 points dropped now.
I mean, the thing with Pablo is, I look, the age factor is a massive thing. Yeah, I think obviously from that Anfield game, the Leicester game, when he started, I think if I'm right in saying, Joe, that's his only 2 starts so far this season. I'm pretty sure it's Liverpool and Leicester. Both of those games, he did look like a 35-year-old on the pitch in that sense. And the speed of the game just seemed a little bit too much. But I think in a game like Wednesday night, Newcastle, I think as it slows down a little bit, with 20 minutes to go, Newcastle, if it's 0-0, start to sit back. I still just think, I know he's over 35, maybe there's a little bit of emotion here. He's not been great the last couple of games when he has been picked, but surely, Darren, Pablo's got to be a better bet to come off the bench at this moment in time than who came on Friday night. Would you say?
I think from the point of view that he threads our play together really well when he plays from that midfield position. He'll come and pick the ball up from the right back. He'll pass it into the midfield. He'll take the ball back and he'll thread the ball forward from that point of view. And obviously in terms of like when he gets in the final third, he's the player you want looking for that final creative pass, isn't he? So I think we are really missing, from the point of view of, getting somebody who's going to find a bit of magic or is going to find a great pass or, nutmeg somebody on the edge of the box. I think we're definitely missing him. But he hasn't looked up to speed in the games that he's played in, has he? He looked really kind of out of the game against Liverpool. I thought he was growing into the Leicester game at the point he was taken off, actually. And not just the shot against the bar, but I think he was starting to find, some passes in and around their box, which was starting to cause them a few problems. But, yeah, I said a lot that I think that Pablo's been the best player at the club since he walked through the door, but it can't go on forever, can it? He is 35 and he's playing now at a higher level than he has been for the last 2 or 3 years. And let's not forget he was playing, where was he in whatever league? Yeah, he was playing in
Saudi Arabia or something like that.
At 29 years old. So I think that, I think you'd struggle to see him play the full 90 minutes, but for 20 minutes when we need a goal and we need a bit of creativity, I agree. I think he is the right man to bring on in most situations.
I mean, do you go along with that, Joe? Would you seriously? What would you say if Newcastle game, the first 60 minutes or so, goes the same kind of way as West Ham? We start well, goes to 1-1. If Costa and Roberts are coming on first, what are you thinking?
Listen, my thoughts on Roberts anyway. Maybe I'm being a little bit too scathing, and I've heard it said before by the guys on the All Stats, aren't we, that his favoured position. And listen, when he did play in there in the Championship that time when Roof and Bamford were injured, I think that first season he got himself a couple of goals. Was it 2 against Preston or Millwall? I think it might be Millwall, actually. I'm not sure. Preston, sorry. Yeah, I don't know.
An absolute cracker at Hull, I remember.
Yeah. Hull away in this last season. Yeah.
So he has done bits when he has played there, to be fair to him. It's just like, I think he just cuts, for me, a frustrating figure at times, because I think sometimes he tries to overplay it. He tries to do too many dropping the shoulder, like Harrison used to do in that first season. He'd turn and then turn back again. And it's like you've missed your opportunity there. So it's just frustrating for me. So, of course, I'd rather see Pablo on. I still think, on reflection, it's easy to say, but I still think that was the substitution maybe to put Rodrigo up and bring Pablo in. But, Darren's explained the reasons as to why that probably wasn't the best case. But, yeah, I think, look, the fact he's only played 45 minutes in the under-23s and being brought off makes me think maybe Bielsa's looking at that as an option. I don't think he'll start because, as we've seen against Liverpool, I think you could tell in that game it was like, wow, yeah, he is a little bit way off the pace. And I think his reaction wasn't great after Leicester. I think he can't really go on like that after Leicester because I don't think he had a great game from my personal standpoint. It's not as if he was pulling up trees and he was getting subbed. But I just don't want it to end like that. And we know with Bielsa, when he has had that sort of situation, I know it's not on the same, but he bombed Janssen. See you later, gone. And I don't think any of us seen that coming, to be fair. I know he wasn't great, but I don't think any of us seen him bombing him out like that in the summer. So I just hope it isn't the end for Pablo. And I guess we'll know on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have
indicator,
a clearer idea, because I think if again, like you said, if it goes the same, and he still doesn't turn to Pablo, then it's like, yeah, time's maybe running out, which is so sad. So sad, because
I expect him. I was going to say, I expect him to make play at least, or have some sort of impact against Newcastle, because he got 45 minutes yesterday.
Yeah.
20. He's always a good start for the So I'd be very, very surprised if he's not in the starting lineup even.
Do you think he might start him, yeah?
I do, yeah. I think he might.
Who's come out for you, Matt? If say Pablo did come in, who would you take out, and who do you think would come out?
I thought Rodrigo looked a bit out of his depth, on Friday. Like I said, he looked frustrated figure there, if I'm honest. I'll probably play him there. It depends because we've all wanted Rodrigo to.
Yeah, we can't be dropping the man, can we? I don't.
You reckon we've been crying out for it for weeks. Yeah. So, why would you drop him straight away for Pablo? It's a tough one. But yeah, Bamford came off on Friday. Is he going to rest Bamford? You've got Manchester United on Sunday. You need to think of that as well. You've got a big game coming up 3 days later, 3 or 4 days after, sorry. So I'll probably be able to have that in his mind as well.
I'm petrified about that game, by the way. I'm absolutely petrified. Like, weeks ago, I was like, yeah, we'll be fine. And then the more I think about it, I'm like, Rashford, Greenwood. I'm like, God. I'm petrified. I'm petrified because it could get silly. It could get silly, if I'm honest. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I think it's a good thing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's still in charge. That's a good thing for us. Hopefully
I think we're perfectly made for him because, like, when he has to break teams down, he's not great at it. However, when teams are coming onto him, he's like, yeah, that's fine. Bam, see you later. So I'm a little bit worried about that counter.
When the last team that really tried to go toe to toe, I know Chelsea did, but you look at Everton. I know that Everton game, we went into it. Beat Chelsea at the weekends. They kind of came out at us and they gave us all that space to kind of like get in behind. I actually think Newcastle could be as tough a game as Man United in a sense, because Newcastle's going to be tough to break down. Man United are going to have to go for it against us because they dropped points at the weekends. They're flying further and further back from that top 4. They're already at the Champions League. They've got to come out flying. Maguire up against Bamford. I'd fancy Paddy in that battle. I
fancy myself against Maguire, to be fair.
You know what I mean? 20 yards of space. I fancy, I think Rafinha against Luke Shaw. You're looking at battles on that pitch. I think, obviously going forward, they are pretty terrifying in terms of. But just obviously looking at it, lads, we can't get away from the fact it's 4 points from the last 6 games.
Can we just mention, Oscar, as well, that Chelsea again failed to beat anyone above like the top 10? I just want to get that in. They lost again to a team that were high up in the table. I just want to get that in.
Well, given how much fuss they made about their running stats against us, I'd be really interested to know what they were in the subsequent game, because I suspect they might have been marginally lower.
But look, lads, obviously it's 4 points from the last 6 games. I personally think we've probably merited a few more than that, but there's no getting away from the fact it's probably our poorest run of the season so far. In fact, it is our poorest run of the season so far. But I know social media's freaking out. Obviously, a couple of comments coming in, people are down, but surely you've got to look at the injuries. Robin Koch's out. Luke Haynes has come into the centre. That means we've not got our best right back playing at right back. We've got a right back playing at centre back. We've got injuries elsewhere. Rodrigo's only just come back in. Rafinha's a new signing. Surely that's got to be a massive mitigating factor at the minute. I know there's a lot of talk about, are we in a relegation battle now? But I don't know, Darren. Does it feel far too premature to be saying that? Surely the better judgment is when we've got Koch back, Llorente back, you move Luke Haynes back to right back, Alice back to left back. Surely that's going to be the better judgment in terms of defensively and the team in terms of what it's going to do this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I think we're in the same place, just about in the same place in the table where we'll finish, and we're just about in the same place in the table where I kind of expected us to be at the start of the season. I think maybe 12th is about as high as you can expect us to finish this season because of the way we play. We take a lot of risks. We're still playing with a lot of Championship players in the squad I think over the next 2 or 3 years you'll see the makeup of the squad really change. But basically, I don't see us getting sucked into a relegation battle at all. I see us just winning 1 every 2 or 3, just like we have been doing so far this season. I don't see us putting long runs of wins together like we did in the Championship. That's just not going to happen. But I think we'll be fine. I'm not worried about us going back down to the Championship at the end of the season at all.
Do you go along with that, Matt?
Oh, fully agree with what Darren says. I think there's been a massive overreaction. I think we've been blessed the last couple of years. It's very rare that we've had 6 defeats already. It's not even Christmas. It's a rarity for us Leeds fans these last few years. And I think people have been a little bit forgetful that we are in the big league. You know, we're playing against Premier League teams, Premier League players, and the bulk of our squad is still Championship-based players. We were never going to go into this as a Europa League, Champions League, Premier League challenger. Let's be honest. Staying up, that is the main aim for this season.
Absolutely.
And that's a bit of fun while we're at it. You know, we're going to get beat 4-1. Then we're going to go to Villa and we're going to win 3-0 and everyone's going to be absolutely raving about it. So we just got to just calm down, or some of the fans, sorry, just need to calm down slightly. You know, we're going to have injuries. We've had injuries. People are going to play out of position. They are. Games are going to come quick and fast. It's going to happen. But we're going to have a good time this season. We're creating chances as well. When you look at Burnley, Sheffield United, Fulham, West Brom, even like Newcastle.
Arsenal.
Yeah, even Arsenal. They got away with a 0-0 with us. We should have absolutely spanked them.
Yeah, it's not looking a good result now, is it?
No, not really.
Got points, mate.
But we create chances, and these teams don't. And that's why I feel we'll be fine this season. I genuinely think we will be. And there may be a point where we may float around relegation, but I think we'll be absolutely fine. No issue to see Sheffield United do a bad one.
That's the thing. I mean, effectively, you know, I know there's talk about it, but I don't believe in it at all either. You know, we're 6 points clear of it. Let's not forget, 6 points clear of it. Almost a third of the season gone. Yeah. Injuries to the squad. We've already played Liverpool, City. I know we've still got Tottenham to play, but we've played Chelsea. We've probably played 3 of the best 4 teams already in the league. I think anyone else outside that 4 can be beaten on our day. I think we can beat anyone else outside that top 4, if I'm being honest. I think we can beat Man United on our day. I think we can beat them on Sunday if we're at it.
Beat them Sunday.
Honestly, you know, this is it with Leeds. You know, there's no reason why we can't go there and just, you know, cause some damage for me. You know, I mean, Joe, are you still going? I mean, obviously you and Jack had a bit of a row on Friday night about it, but you know, the thing is, I know there's a lot of Championship players who came up with us, but I'm looking at that squad in terms of the starting 11. I think in terms of our favourite starting 11, I'm not really looking at it and thinking there's any specific weak player in that team. Would you agree?
I think if we're looking at January, and this is for anyone that's watching this, and it don't mean anything, if you're expecting Leeds to do big business, then you're going to be disappointed. We don't do a lot of business in January. So you need to, if ever under Bielsa, I don't think we will. You know, people expecting a whole overhaul of the squad, saying the players aren't good enough after a few poor results. I've had to temper my own expectations. Listen, I get carried away. You know that, Oscar, anyway. Yeah, we came up, we started well. I'm saying, listen, we can get top 4. Listen, we can get Europe. Then I'm like, oh, top 10. And now I'm like, just stay in the division. That's what I'm like. You know what I mean? I can get carried away. But look, I always caveat that though, as long as we're in 17th, then that's all that matters to me, you know, and I think we will be. We're not going to get relegated. We have a strong enough squad for me to compete. If there's a different manager in charge and a different style of play, then yes, rightly so, I'd be petrified. But with Bielsa, I have enough faith to know that he will get enough points over the course of the season to make sure we stay in the division. But if you're asking, maybe I think the square ball lads mentioned Rodrigo de Paul to Angus Kinnear, and he had a little twinkle in his eyes still, and maybe that might be one that could get done in January. But other than that, I mean, Bielsa's already come out and said he's not going to get no centre-backs. And I think a lot of people may be wanting that. And he's already said, no, it's not happening. Where else will we go? A left-back, maybe Rico Henry. I'm not sure. I just don't see us doing much business in January. And I'm all right with that, man. It's like you say, when players are back from injury and everyone's firing on all cylinders, then we can give anyone a game. We can. Listen, I'm nervous about the Man United game just because I don't want to get hammered. That's all that is. But do I think we can give them a game? Yes. Do I think we can win? Yes. You know, the home form's not been great. I have enough belief in Bielsa and the squad at Leeds United to know that we'll be fine over 38 games, man.
And I think as going to say as well, I think that as football fans, we've all got shopping lists, haven't we? We want this player, we want that player, we want this position strengthening, we want that position strengthening. And I genuinely believe that if you try and do too much in any squad, in any transfer window, like in the summer, if we'd have tried to address every single problem that there is in the squad, we would have ended up signing, 8 or 9 or 10 players. And then you end up in a situation like Fulham had the year before last, or maybe like Villa had last year, where you either only just get away with it, or you end up relegated because there's no continuity in the team. Whereas I think what we've done this year is we've brought 3 or 4 players in who've really raised the quality of the squad. I think we'll do the same again next summer. I think we'll see a first choice left back come in, and I think we'll see a proper partner for Click come in the summer, and then I think that'll take us up another level from where we are now. And I think it's about building in increments. Yeah. I'm a great believer in building in increments and not trying to do everything at once.
Well, we've seen with the likes of Fulham and stuff like that in the past, it just doesn't work. Who's done the best when they've come up from the Championship and kept that cohort of players? Wolves and Sheffield United. I know it's different now for Sheffield United because they've got a lot of injuries. But if we just look at last season, they did decent, right? And they have been ravaged with injuries, I think. And they've lost some key personnel. But yeah, I think it's wrong to throw the checkbook at it. And we won't anyway under Bielsa, will we? So
no. You look at it though, you've got Robin Koch, Llorente, Rodrigo, Rafinha. These players were already trying to fit into the team. I just think, for me, it's 1-2 signings at most, and the other signing would just be a backup goalkeeper. Because if Marriot gets injured at any point in the season, I do think there'd be a massive, massive problem. So I would, if we can get a backup goalkeeper, that'd be great. And then maybe 1 first-team signing. I think if you go any more than that, you're kind of thinking you've already having a bit of trouble gelling all these players in at once, kind of thing. We're not all. I think I'm right in saying we haven't seen Koch, Rodrigo, Rafinha on the pitch at the same time, and Llorente on the pitch at the same time. I don't think yet. I think because of injuries and COVID. That's the thing. You've already, that's the thing. I think I've got to agree with what you're saying there, Darren. I can't think of a team. We look at even QPR all those years back. I can't think of a team that's been successful just hammering at it in one window, trying to make 3 or 4 signings. Because when you're doing that, it's just counterproductive. It's panic buying. There's no guarantee. With any signing, there's no guarantee it's going to be a success. No guarantee it's going to be a success, is it? And
I think any of us are Ted Delhi, right?
Otherwise, called Matt Paul.
Somehow I don't fit with the wages, to be fair. But
what's this about, Darren? I did wonder why it changed to Derek.
All right, okay. So, I got the nickname Derek from the All Stats lads because it's Brynlaw's fault, basically. I tweeted Brynlaw and accidentally called him Brian instead of Bryn, and he responded saying, "Yeah, that's no problem, Derek." And now I just can't shake it. And they've even started calling me Des instead of Darren, Derek, or Daz. So it's all getting a bit much, if I'm honest. What I'm trying to tell you is that the All Stats lads are bullying me.
It sounds like
pretty much it.
Well, this is your opportunity to hammer the transfer request in. This is the opportunity. This is even your audition now, mate. But I mean, Matt, obviously, looking ahead to Newcastle, I think as we've all kind of said, it's a similar kind of game. It's land of the Giants once again. It's Joe Linton, Lascelles, Kieran Clark, players like that in the box on set pieces. I mean, and I think as well, just look at having a little bit of research on Newcastle coming on live. Newcastle actually play the 2 up top, and normally when teams go 2 up top, we go to that old back 3, and that might be something a little bit interesting. I mean, would you look to change? I mean, for me, I look at the left-hand side. Would you change anything on that left-hand side? From the last game to this one.
Yeah, I put Dallas back at left back. I think it's his best position. Him and Harrison, I think, genuinely combine brilliantly, and that could be maybe a reason why we've seen a decline of Harrison's form last few weeks as well. But I think Dallas back at left back for me is a dead cert. I think it suits him there. I'm not sure what that central midfield role. It definitely is Mr. Utility, but his best position for me in this setup is at left back. But I think with Newcastle, if we can try and keep it 0-0 after 19 seconds, that'll be a bonus after the West Brom game at the weekend. Unbelievable start was that. I watched that game and obviously I thought Newcastle looked really good, and that header by Dwight Gale. We all know what Dwight Gale can do. Feel like he'll probably have a role to play on Wednesday night as well. So Yeah, they're a tricky team. They're a difficult one. Bit like West Ham, we kind of go into it think we can beat them, but don't know. I genuinely don't know at the moment. I think every game, like Joe touched upon it, every game's a massive game for you. You know, so it is what it is. But I think it's going to be a decent one for us and a good test. And I think if we can get a result on Wednesday night, that'll put us brilliantly instead for Sunday's game against Manchester United.
Absolutely, be interesting to see if they do play with two up top. I've not done my Newcastle research yet, and I've got to do a preview on them tomorrow, so I better do some at some point. But if
know John and Josh are watching this, I know.
I know. Sorry, lads. I will do it. I promise. But nobody wants to watch Newcastle, right? Because they're the most dull and uninspiring team that's probably in the history of the Premier League at the moment. Hello to any Newcastle fans watching. But I suspect if they do play with two up top, we'll go with three, which will probably be an Ayling, Cooper, and Stroik, I would imagine. And I'd have no problem with that because quite apart from anything else, Stroik's massive, and he would give us a lot of extra presence, you know, from those dead ball situations that we're also worried about.
Was it? I don't know if it was yourself, Darren, or one of the other lads who mentioned that actually from set pieces, Newcastle ain't that great. Was it Tom that mentioned it?
It was Tom. Yeah, it was. Tom Alderson said it. Yeah. So maybe, but you know, they've got a lot of big lads and we're all tiny. So.
that won't count for nothing against Leeds.
It's all about the delivery, though, isn't it? So it's all right having big lads in the box if you've got nobody who can put the ball on their head. And we've been unfortunate against Chelsea, against West Ham, because their delivery and against Liverpool at the start of the season as well. Their delivery was just exceptional.
Mount's delivery against Chelsea was just absolutely unreal, I thought.
Absolutely.
Cresswell's was very good from that left side.
Cresswell's got some great numbers as well, hasn't he, this season, I think, in terms of assists.
As Corey from the West Ham way never, ever hesitate to let us know. But look, we all know John Joe Shelby will turn into Pirlo on every single corner on Wednesday. So, I mean, is there any, Matt, looking at the set pieces, is there anything obviously there's been talk about zonal marking, there's been talk about Paddy Bamford being the only player who's really been able to consistently literally just head the ball out. Would you have literally swapped Paddy Bamford and have him actually marking someone now rather than being the spare man on the front post? Would you change anything, or do you just think it's down to the players now and it's just down to the desire, concentration, and to an extent hoping for the best a little bit? Because there's not much you can do when you've got a team where your tallest player is 6'1", 6'3" Stuart players. I mean, what would you be saying to that?
Well, I'll be getting the lads in grow bags from Monday morning and getting a few inches out of him if I could in training. That'd definitely one. I think Stroik's going to come in 6'3", definitely. Massive chat about the team and the height of the team. It is worrying, I think, when you're in the Premier League. But I think Bielsa's always had that extra man out there, that charge at the ball, and Berardi used to be that man. And I think, you know, we've missed a player like him. But you're right. I think Bamford is that player that needs to drop back and literally just get his head on that ball and get it out. Because, my goodness me, if we concede a set piece on Wednesday night, that was going to be
It's true, though. I think it's in there, though, as well. It must be.
It is. Yeah.
Didn't even Click saying his post, or was it Dallas who said, we knew that if we got set pieces, they could score. And it's like, they must be like, oh, no. Like, even as a fan, I said before, like, it's like how I would watch a penalty against. I'm putting my head in my eyes, you know, like, oh no, we've got a set piece against us, man. It's really worrying at the minute.
It reminds me a bit of you know, look, it's going to sound like a crazy comparison, but you remember like Wiesbelt and that lot. You know, every single time teams just started just ping crosses into the. I'm not saying any of our players are that bad, but teams started to really cotton on to the fact. And I just think teams are going to start playing for set pieces now, just diving, just anything to win a free kick. And I think it's going to become a big feature of that for us the next couple of weeks. And just remember, I think obviously Casper Ankergren as well. Like, just, you know, I know Marriot's not the problem with it, but you've got certain patterns kind of develops. It becomes a psychological thing, then, doesn't it? You kind of have it in the back of your mind. I mean, just watch Newcastle not score from a set piece and then score 4 goals from open play. I mean, would we all be okay with that? At least you score from a set piece kind of thing. But, you know, I mean, looking at Newcastle, obviously Saint-Maximin is a doubt. in this game. Again, he didn't play at the weekend. How much of a boost, Aaron, would it be if Saint-Maximin is not on that pitch in terms of for our man-to-man marking system that you haven't got a 1v1 kind of player in that team aside from Saint-Maximin?
I think that would be a bit. I mean, he's an interesting player because when he first came to the Premier League, I thought he was awful and had the worst decision making of any Premier League footballer I'd ever seen. But I think that he's really developed over the course of the season, and I think he looks a genuine threat now when he plays. So I am pleased to see that he's likely to be out, because I think he's exactly the sort of player, through a combination of pace, ability to beat his man-to-man marker, and improved decision making, who could cause us a lot of problems. So if he's out, great.
Is there anyone, obviously, Matt, from watching the game on Saturday, was there anyone else who stood out for you in Newcastle in terms of Saint-Maximin's absence? Was there anyone individually who you looked at and think he's going to be a threat on Wednesday night?
I think John Joe Shelby, every time you give him space and he'll pin out a Hollywood ball which will land on a player's feet on a sixpence. And Calvin Phillips will have his hands full with Shelby on Wednesday night. So I think John Joe Shelby is the one that we really need to keep an eye on. Good player, by the way, very good player.
Yeah, I remember him in Championship, man. He was the boss, in that division. To be fair to him,
I don't think he's always the most diligent defensively, is he? So I think Calvin could get a wee bit of space to play in on Wednesday. I think that'll do us good. I
think Isaac Hayden kind of complements him as well, doesn't he? Kind of sweeps after him. I think Almiron's starting to find his feet again at Newcastle. Oh, sorry, he's finally finding his feet at Newcastle. It's taken a while for him to settle in. Obviously, I chatted about it earlier, about the 92nd goal on Saturday. I think Dwight Gale as well. I think give him a sniff and he'll punish you. And look, he did it with us at West Brom.
He always scores against us, doesn't he?
Well, hopefully we're not giving it. He's not going to do it on Wednesday.
I mean, a player from Newcastle who gets a lot of stick, mainly from rival fans and non-Newcastle fans, is Joe Linton. I mean, I know his lack of goals is the thing, but whenever I watch him, you know what? I think he's actually a decent player in terms of linking up play, in terms of playing with his back to goal. I think in terms of the strength, I'm thinking from our lads, whoever's on him, I think it's a tough battle, in terms of having him backing into him, obviously freeing up Gale, freeing up Almiron, running off him. And I genuinely think he's a bit of someone to look at on Wednesday night, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think we were lucky. I think Sebastian Haller could have buried so many chances on Friday night. I think it's
funny.
If he had a bit more confidence, we would have been in massive trouble on Friday. There's a lot of similarities between Haller and Joe Linton, but what I like about Joe Linton is he's got a bit more on him. He will finish a chance, and he's another player that looks like he's starting to find his feet at Newcastle. So again, he could bully our centre backs. So he's another player we need to watch out for. Definitely.
Totally agree.
And I mean, obviously, Joe, I've kind of spoken up about the left back situation. I would genuinely like to see either
your football friend Leaf. I want to see Leaf there.
I want to see one of Shackleton or Davis start a game at fullback just to see that little bit more balance. What's your feelings on Alioski at left back? I mean, do you feel he suits being in the back four, because I think obviously I say all this, but Newcastle, the chances are we're going to start with a back three, and at left wing back when he's actually ahead of the game, not having to think as much defensively. I kind of go back on myself and think, you know what? Actually, you might be. So remember Huddersfield away last season, he went left wing back. It was absolutely immense. Stoke away last season, played left wing back, got a goal. I don't know. There's something. What do you make of Alioski, Darren? I mean, do you think he actually do a decent little job in this game in terms of the energy in that lot?
I think generally when he does play, I think he generally does. He generally plays exactly the same game every single time, which is he's got absolutely amazing energy. He will occasionally make stupid mistakes on the ball and give them away in stupid situations, and that can often see us, under significant pressure. But I think that the only thing for me is that when he gets in both final thirds, I think his decision making can be a bit suspect. and that he can dive into things at our end which can cause us problems. And equally at the other end, some of his delivery and decision making around the box can be poor. And I think when him and Harrison play together, they often try to do more or less the same job, which can be a bit of a problem. So I'm with you really. I'd like to see Shackleton given more of a run, whether that is playing at right back or whether he takes up the right wing back, and Dallas plays the left wing back role. I think that's kind of what I'd be looking to happen on Wednesday.
I think there's a real possibility that could happen as well. Just with his bright spell when he did come on for the first initial 10 minutes or so, he did look bright. So I think that could realistically happen. I did wonder Matt back. He was sat there for ages like this, like thinking, and now he's back with us.
Shackleton's neat and tidy as well, isn't he?
I have no idea what happened.
Oh, we were just talking about you. Shackleton's really neat and tidy, isn't he? And really helps us in the build-up in ways which other players don't necessarily do. So I think you're very rarely going to see Shackleton losing the ball in a stupid area and putting us under pressure. He'll always find the right pass, or he'll know when to run, when to carry the ball up the field in a really intelligent way. I'm a big fan of Shackleton.
Mm.
Let's look at, obviously, prediction-wise. I mean, obviously, Matt, what would you be, on the basis we go to a back three, we maybe make one or two changes. Obviously, first of all, how do you think the game is going to go? Do you think it's going to follow a similar pattern to West Ham? And what's your prediction for the game?
I think you'll get a reaction, and I hope we get a victory out of it. I kind of looked at West Ham and Newcastle, and in my mind, I had 4 points. I'd be happy with 4 points. I'll take 3 now. So, yeah, we just need to scrap it. I said it on our podcast, on the Ryan Gary Kelly's podcast. We were looking at these 4-4 wins over Fulham and 3-0 wins at Villa, and then we get beat 4-1 at Palace and Leicester. I love these 1-0 away wins at Sheffield United and these 1-0 home wins at Everton. This is what we need. We need to, more importantly, keep a clean sheet because we're too open at the back. Everyone raves about Meslier, and rightly so. He's going to be world class, and he's showing glimpses of it. But in a way, it worries me as well that we're always talking about our keeper. And when you always talk about your keeper, you're letting too many goals in, or letting too many chances. So for me, I'd love a 1-0, take 3 points, and like I said earlier, go to Manchester United with his tails up, and obviously do them. That's the fun.
Let's have it, man.
I mean, Darren, you were to be fair, I think you're probably the first person who really spoke up about Meslier. I'm going to give you that plug there because you definitely were the first. Because I think it went back to January, December time last year when you were talking about Meslier. I mean, how much of a victory does that feel like then, mate?
Oh, massive. I mean, it's the only reason I've retained my spot on the All Stats podcast, to be honest, is because I was able to call that one, No, it was funny because I watched him in an under-23 games down here against, I said down here, I live just by the ground, so that's why I'm pointing that way, against Bristol at Elland Road. And I just remember watching him in that game, and I'd not seen him play before, and I just saw a keeper who was absolutely in control of his technique, knew what he was doing, his distribution of the ball was outstanding. I saw him make, maybe 4 or 5 saves, none of which were spectacular, but all of which were solid and used different goalkeeping techniques. So it was at that point, I remember ringing my mate, and I just remember saying to him, look, we've got an absolute cracking keeper here, and I've got absolutely no worries if he gets thrown into the first team. And then it's been really good to see how he's developed in the first team, and the saves that he makes are amazing at times. But what is a problem for me is when he makes a mistake and Josh Hobbs absolutely crucifies me in our group chat, which happens on not with monotonous regularity because he don't make that many mistakes, but every time he makes one, I'm thinking, oh fuck, Josh is going to kill me now. So that's how it goes, isn't it?
Joshua wanted to sign someone from the Dutch second division here from time he makes a mistake.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think Josh is one of those guys, and John often says it as well, that they don't really understand keepers, so they don't talk about them, and that's fair enough.
Well, go on then, mate. What are you predicting then?
I think I think Newcastle will come with the same plan really that we saw West Ham come with, same plan that we saw Arsenal come with, which is that they'll attempt to kill all the space. They'll sit deep and defend resolutely. And what we'll need to be better at in order to beat them is moving their players around, because against West Ham we just absolutely did not manage to make their players move at all. So there was no space to find. So if we're able to do that, if we're able to get Rodrigo on the ball in difficult positions, if we're able to get Rafinha in a way where he can beat a man and create a bit of space, then I think a really tense and tight win will come. But if we're not able to do that, I can't. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but if we don't manage to do that, ... is what I will say.
Joe, what are you thinking, mate? You think I'm thinking reaction as well. I'm same as Matt, same as Darren. I'm thinking it's going to be maybe not. I don't think it's going to be beautiful to watch like Villa. I don't think it's been. I think it is probably going to be a little bit more like Sheffield United. We're going to have to grind it out. There might be a few chances on set pieces. There might be a little bit of this and that. But what do you think? I think we might sneak this, to be honest.
I'm going to go 2-0. It's my go-to. It's a 2-0. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we need to pick up a win. It's 1 win in 6 now, is it? We need to pick up a win.
Yeah.
We have to win. We have to start winning games, because, like you say, if we don't, then it starts to get, because I mean, Burnley, West Brom coming up, and then they have a even bigger significance, and we don't want that. We don't want the rhetoric around relegate, all that sort of stuff.
Agreed.
Let's just get this win out of the way, put in a decent performance against Scum down there, and then we'll see where we're at, man. But yeah, we need to get a win. We have to, really, to be fair.
Well, let's move on to the last little bit of the show. Favourite part of the show. We're going to the what we call this show. I think it's been 12, 13.
Yeah, 1 to 5. I don't know.
1 to 5. 5 aside. 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, I look. To be fair, lads, I love these teams that you picked. I'm going to go to quite similar kind of teams, really. I'm going to go to whose team I'm going to go to first. I can't see it in the description. Whoever's team comes up first is the team we're going to go with. So we're going with Darren's team first.
Yes.
Right. So, I mean, talk us through the board, mate.
Okay. So I chose Martin to play in goal. And it was a close thing between him and Meslier, who as you know is my French son. But the reason I chose Martin is because one of the things that Meslier brings that Martin didn't is that lovely clipped 50-yard ball out to the wing, which obviously isn't a thing in five-a-side football at all. So Nigel Martin is the best goalkeeper I've ever seen, and I'm never likely to see. So I've gone with him. In defence.
I'm surprised by this one. I love it, but it's a surprising one.
Well, but the thing is, because I tried to think about it tactically, how you build a five-a-side team, right? Because that's just what's been drilled into me by John McKenzie, and I just kind of thought with Ayling, what you need in a five-a-side team is someone who's defensively solid, but also someone who can really look after the ball, and who can get around and kind of is tactically intelligent, I guess is what I'm saying. So I think Ayling really ticks all the boxes with that for me. I think that he's been our best defender since he joined the club. I thought he was just as good. Well, perhaps not just as good, but he was really good under Monk, and his improvement under Bielsa has seen him pushing to become a genuinely top level player. I think he's one of those players that's kind of level proof. He looks good whatever level you play him at. So I think that's why I've gone with him. I've gone with David Batty in the midfield because I've got a rule that if I'm picking any Leeds team, Batty has to be in it. And one of the things that I thought about was that, if Ayling's driving forward with the ball, who better to slip back and cover him than Batty? Because if anyone gets the ball and tries to break away, he'll either win the ball or he'll smash them into the wall. And either way, I'm happy, to be honest. Then Johnny Giles, because I've been watching a lot of the 60s and 70s team recently, and I just love watching him play. I love the way he moves the ball. I love the way that he, the kind of creativity. And he, in that Leeds team, he would quite often drop off to the left and link up with Eddie Gray really beautifully. And the kind of intelligence and just pure ability on the ball, I just think you know, he might struggle with, you know, kind of modern fitness and stuff, but to give him his due, he is nearly 80 now. So, but I still think he'd be able to manage it. And then when I was thinking about the striker role, I thought, you know, Viduka's not my favourite ever Leeds striker, and I tried to pick different strikers from the other All Stats lads, because I think Josh picked Bridges, didn't he? And did John pick Yeboah? Yeah, which, you know, they're both great players. And I thought about Hasselbank, but I just thought, in terms of a five-a-side striker, what you want is someone who's going to be able to hold the ball up, who's going to be able to hold players off, who's got great feet, is able to, you know, turn and get a shot off, but also can bring the other players into the game, whether it's Giles linking up with him or whether Aylin's doing one of his surges forward. So basically, that's my five.
I like that, you know.
I
think that's one of my favourites, Oscar.
Definitely. I mean, Aylin, I think it's the first time. I'm not sure if I'm right in saying.
Yeah,
it's got to be the first time I've had Aylin or a fullback. To be fair, I love the way you've interpreted it. It didn't have to be a centre back, but I think a lot of people have put centre backs in there. In fact, I think Ben Stead, he had Phillips in there, didn't he? To be fair, so I'm interested. It's the first time by the fullback put in there.
Finally, you know, the Pablo thing as well. We had two people of an older generation that just didn't put Pablo in, so we're now starting to see him drop out of a few, because at the start he was in every single person's team was Pablo Hernandez.
Are you saying I'm of an older generation, Joe?
Oh,
I'm not having that.
No, that's what I mean. I'm surprised, Aaron. You're younger than these blokes anyway, so I'm surprised that Pablo's not in there. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no. And to be fair, I was thinking a Pablo type, but it's just because I've been watching a lot of the 60s and 70s videos, and Giles is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at Matt's. Let's look at yours, mate. There we go. Talk us through the board, mate.
Oh, well, you've got to start with Nigel Martin, you know, the greatest Leeds United keeper we've ever had. And I think, yeah, we've had some terrible ones over the years, let's be honest. Martin is what would do for a Martin on the bench, just coaching and guiding Meslier through his young career at Leeds. And I think, you know, Meslier we've got now, and you know, you guys have chatted about it there, but I think he's got potential to probably, if he continues the way he's doing, probably be in the same stature as Martin. But you know, what a keeper! And we interviewed Paul Robinson on our podcast right at the start, really, of the season, and he just waxed lyrical about what he did for him and for his career. And even now, he's still friends with Nigel Martin and talking to him on a regular basis. So, yeah, absolute legend. And then speaking of legends, we move on to Gary Kelly. You know, what more can you say about Gary Kelly? You know, he's a one-club man, 516 appearances, 4 amazing goals. You know, I named my website after him.
There was no way you could not pick Gary Kelly for that. There was no way, mate. There was no way you could get away with that.
And it goes for having a fullback at centre back here. You know,
yeah,
saying that, get him in.
Mm.
But absolute legend, and yeah, he's everything what the football club's all about, and he got it as well. And I always look at kind of the way he kind of ended his career, and it's so sad to look back on how it happened. You know, the testimonial that he had there, it was under a dark cloud at the time under the Bates tenure, and we were getting relegated as well back down to League One. So it was such a shame. But yeah, absolute colossal of a leader that we had for the football club. And then that ties nicely to the one and only Billy Bremner. You know, obviously a little bit before my time, but growing up as a kid.
First time, you know, Matt. First time we've had Billy in.
Really?
Is it?
Yeah, genuinely it is.
Wow.
Really?
I'm surprised at that. I think obviously he's an icon for the football club, isn't he? He's the greatest player we've ever had, hands down. But I think I tried to keep it, obviously, players in my lifetime supporting the club, but I felt Bremner needed to go in. And the reason for that is growing up, my late granddad used to play all the old videotapes of the 60s and the 70s and the cup games and the battle at Chelsea and the European games of Bayern Munich. He had them all on tape. And every time Billy got the ball, he were raving about him and just saying, watch this player. Just watch him. Don't watch the game. Watch Billy Bremner. And I think it was an honour growing up to kind of know who he was at a young age. And I later got to meet him at a charity game with my granddad, and he was like a kid in a sweet shop meeting him. It's phenomenal. And yeah, it's all my memories that'll always stick with me. And you could not have Billy Bremner in your ultimate Leeds United five-a-side, could you? But then that ties nicely to Lee Bowyer. And I think Lee Bowyer at the time, around 99 to 2001, he was arguably one of the best all-round midfielders in Europe at the time. It was phenomenal, especially in them Champions League days. It was box to box, run-busting runs. He gave absolutely everything for that football club at the time. And again, really similar to Kelly, it's such a shame on how he kind of left the club. But yeah, it's still good to see the good things that he's saying about the football club now and has been manager of Charlton, especially last season. It was nice to see. And then with Becky up top, I could have gone with the Vidukas, the Beckfords. I could have gone with the Steve Morrisons for the laugh, but he is
the shift.
Yeah, Becky for me was just something different. 2008, he came in on trial. And I remember Tom Kerwin, obviously LUTV chap, he said to me he was there on his trial. And this floppy-haired Argentinian lad turned up, couldn't speak a word of English, played a few trial games and absolutely bullied everybody, winning headers. And he played like an old centre-forward, English centre-forward. And I think that's what he did for Leeds. He ended up going on and having a great career for us. I think he got about 75 goals and some really, really important goals as well. And that partnership with Beckford was lethal in the League One and like championship days. And I think he just kind of that beacon of what we were about in the Football League is Becchio. And again, I don't think we'll see a player like him again, but he got Leeds and he got English football. And that's, again, it's kind of a similar theme I've got within this five-a-side team, but I felt he definitely needed to obviously lead the line for this team of mine.
A lot of debutantes this week, Joe, to be fair.
Yeah, them two teams definitely up there.
Yeah, no, I really like the fact that both of you lads have picked fullbacks in as your centre backs. And yeah, I think both teams are similar teams because obviously Darren, you've got Aylan in there who's kind of outside of like the Premier League players so far, and obviously Becchio as well, who's played most of his career in the Championship for us. It's as an I like that. It's two very. I'll tell you what, I'll be very close on the polls this week. I wouldn't like to call it. Yeah, interesting to see who wins that one this week.
I love that. I love that story, Matt, as well. Watching the videos, that's beautiful, man. I've got kids, and I've got two girls, but I finally had my boy. I can't wait for that, it's just beautiful to hear that sort of stuff, man. Class.
Well, you can show them videos of Mateus Click, mate.
Yeah. Or Pablo.
Yeah, Pablo. Yeah.
There
you go.
Well, before we sign off, let's not forget about our fantastic sponsors as well. Fantastic sponsors, Football Prizes. You're now welcome to go and visit their website because we are about to head off, guys. But make sure you check this out. Rodrigo signed and framed football boot, the Spanish number 9, our record signing. Who's gonna score on Wednesday? I feel it. He's gonna score on Wednesday. What an absolutely superb piece this is. Our record signing, top quality player. He's going to the Euros. Make sure you get on it. $4.95 for a ticket. 99 tickets available as we speak. It might be less than that now, and it closes on Wednesday. You've got 2 days now, guys. 2 days now to enter this prize. Get ahead of the curve. When Rodrigo goes on a massive goal to go and run for us, you can say we've got his signed and framed boots at your house. Now let's go on to the next one. It is a retro one, this, but my word, what a shirt this was. What an iconic shirt this was. Strongbow, blue Strongbow shirt. Look at the names that have signed this. Robbie Keane, Gary Kelly, Mark Viduka, Alan Smith, Dominic Matteo, Lee Bowyer, Ollie Decor. 17 different individual signatures. You can see them all there. There's another week yet to go on this one, but make sure you enter because there's only 99 tickets available on this one as well. $4.95 for a ticket. The Strongbow blue 2002 to 2003 shirt. The shirt that Jimmy Wilner wore when he was 16 and got that winner against Chelsea, I think it was, or Sunderland, whoever it was. What an absolutely iconic shirt for so many brilliant moments. Mark Viduka against Arsenal, 3-2 at Highbury to keep us in the league. I know we got relegated the season after, but that was still an iconic moment. As a young lad watching that. So make sure you get on that, guys. I mean, anything else you want to add, fellas?
Yeah, just big shout out, friend of the channel, old Raymond, on Undateables tonight. Christmas show on Channel 4 at 10 o'clock. Make sure you check it out. We all love a bit of Ray. And Matt, where can we find you? Your podcast. Everyone knows about Writing the Gary Kellys. Everyone knows about All Stats Out We. But we like to put the guests on the spot. you've got a couple of seconds, whatever, just to sing about what you do. So talk to us, Matt.
Yeah, sure. Right, to GaryKellis.com. So we've been going about 10 years. It's been an absolute amazing journey. Don't get me wrong. We've been right there from bottom of League One to where we are now. And yeah, it's all about what we do on the website. It's really good. Get fans writing about the club, just give that fans opinion. And it's something we've been great with and something I've really championed and loved doing it. And then this season, we dabbled in the podcast world and we've just completed our 10th episode last night, absolute cracker. And then just to go with that, we've just surpassed 10,000 downloads. So massive thank you to everyone who's taken the time out. And yeah, if you go on any major podcast platform, you'll find our podcast there. And then we're all over at socials on Ritgk, and we just like to take the piss, really. So yeah, just give us a follow on any of them channels if you don't already.
Yeah, good times. Thank you so much for that, Matt. I know we had Lucy on as well, who takes part, didn't she? She was on last week as well. So, yeah, always a great listen, mate. And Darren, all stats that way.
Yeah, come and follow us on Twitter. Listen to our podcast, join the Patreon, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, the content. I was a fan of the podcast before I was involved in it. So it's a really great channel with some great people doing it. If you want to follow me, and I don't really know why you would, but if you want to come and follow me at Darren Driver, you quite often talk about Leeds United, and then it's just whatever nonsensical bollocks drifts across the front of my brain at any given moment of the day that usually ends up on there. So if that doesn't sell it to you, I don't quite know what will.
Great stuff. And I think that's it. Innit, Oscar? I think from us, Oscar will be doing our live pre-match tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Ahead of the Newcastle game. We're trying to get hold of a Newcastle fan. But yeah, they're getting pretty hard to get hold of. But there you go.
Basically, they bottled it, really. If I'm being honest, they bottled it. It's the only real word you can think of it, really, mate. They bottled it, just like hopefully we'll let Ellen Road. But of course, Wednesday, all the usual stuff will be straight on at 5 o'clock on this one with the lineup building up.
What time do we kick off?
6 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock night.
That's a terrible time.
So yeah, as usual, on for 15 minutes talking about the lineups. Then 5:45, the watch along will commence. After that, we'll have a bit of reaction. Then finish the watch along, post match reviews, player ratings, and then of course the aftermath of the game, and of course the big one on Sunday. We can't not talk about it at this stage, but it's the big one on Sunday. And yeah, we'll have plenty of pre-match stuff going in on that one as well, guys. But I guess we'll leave it there, guys.
Yeah, we'll do